Happy New Year. Hopefully everybody is rested and ready to take on 2022. I was talking to the team yesterday at Art of Homeownership here, and there are a lot of challenges or headwinds that I think are facing the real estate and mortgage industry today. But I believe for us as Art of Homeownership partners and professionals, I believe that those challenges are opportunities. I think that we have every tool that we can imagine and every tool that we can ask for to go help people in the way that they haven't been helped, to help our realtor partners change their value proposition, as if you're a real estate professional on the call, to redefine what it means to be a real estate professional, obviously mortgage professionals as well. So today we just wanted to talk about kind of what everyone's mindset should be going into 2022 and kind of make sure we're recentering around the why of Art of Homeownership. Like, why are you all Art of Homeownership partners? What does that mean? What does it mean for your clients? What does it mean for your team? What does it mean for your business partners? So I want to make sure that we go through that. I also want to open it up if anybody has questions or comments or feedback or wants to share anything. But I can't tell you how proud I am of what we've accomplished in such a short time as a community. We're starting to see some real change. We're starting to see real estate agents expect different. We're starting to see clients expect different now that they've experienced who we are and what we do. And so we're just going to walk through kind of why we exist today. We'll get a little into like how it started, the vision we see, and some of the stuff we have coming down the line that we're excited to share. And then we'll take kind of questions and comments at the end. Danny, would you add to that at all?
Yeah, I would just emphasize this idea of mindset. If you think about, let's say the market shrunk 50%, a catastrophic drop in overall volume. Think about your own individual participation in a $1.5 trillion marketplace, right? Like what percentage of that market would you need? I mean, if you look at your local addressable market, the opportunity for you as an Art of Homeownership professional to go out with the differentiated value proposition and dominate your competition, that will exist no matter what the market conditions are. In fact, to your point, Ryan, as it gets harder and harder for the global market to create a value proposition, our ability to go out with something really tangible becomes even more important.
Yes.
And I got some babies and stuff behind me here in Hawaii, so I apologize if you hear some background noise.
Oh, good, man. We appreciate you jumping on your vacation. All right, so team, I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get into kind of what we're doing here and why. Let me find this. Share screen 2. All right, everybody see my screen here? Cool. So to today's point, the mindset behind kind of why we exist here as Art of Homeownership partners. This is not as why Art of Homeownership exists. This is why, ideally you've decided to become Art of Homeownership partners, and really what you should double down on in 2022 and beyond. First is that consumers are not being served in the areas that were just outside of mortgage and real estate. Right. So we've made a mistake for 80 plus years in the mortgage industry in thinking that what the client wants is the home and the mortgage. Now, the problem is that actually is what they believe they want. But if we showed them what they actually needed, then that would be what they want. Because buying a home is not hard. It's literally just, math and finding one that emotionally connects with you. The problem is that what happens after that, right? How do you become a really successful homeowner? What's the definition? For some of you may have seen a presentation I did a while back, but go to Google and type in how to become a successful homeowner. It breaks the internet. It doesn't even know what a successful homeowner means. There's no definition for it. Because no one's ever taken the time to really say, well, these are the steps you need to take. And then after you buy your home, you need to make sure you have the liquidity. You need to make sure you have an emergency fund. You need to make sure that it fits into your retirement plan. You need to make sure with your disposable income, you do X. You need to make sure it's protected and all the right insurances. You need to make sure that your tax strategy is there. You need to ensure that it is, protected in an estate or will or trust. And then ultimately you need to figure out how to generationally plan with that real estate, and then plan for the next steps with real estate. Like, where does that exist in our society outside of right here, right? The people that are on this call today and committed to making that difference. Next is, clients are making mistakes that would have kept them, that, we should have kept them from making. Some of you have heard my story here in saying that, I had a client call me one time and her husband passed away tragically in a car accident. They had to sell their house. She just never got life insurance. He never got life insurance. And the person who sold them the mortgage and the person who, the real estate agent who sold them the home, didn't care enough. And I was that person, right? We didn't care enough to follow up afterwards, talk about it before and say, hey, this is how important this is. And because of that, they're not in their house anymore. Danny, would you say anything there? I saw you come off mute.
Oh no, I was actually I came off mute to comment on something else that I want. Once you get through all these, I'll jump in.
Okay. So life insurance is just one small portion of it. The points that are really important are the things that most people don't even ever are not aware of. It's the hidden costs of missed opportunities, right? It's not understanding how to utilize that asset appropriately. And I promise you, once people know that they should expect this from their real estate mortgage professionals, it's game over for anyone who's not doing it, because no one will stand for it. As a consumer, if I know that I can get an infinite amount of advice and guidance and planning from a real estate and mortgage consultant that actually have my best interest in mind or helping me proactively, the only time I'm ever not going to use that team of real estate and mortgage professionals is if I fully believe I know everything and that I have it all under control. I have all the right people in place. I don't need any of those things. And I just want the cheapest mortgage. And I promise you that is 1% of our population, maybe. Lastly, is we want to change the industry. And, when I started Art of Homeownership, candidly, I just wanted to show people that I was more valuable. And I just wanted to be able to say, if Danny were to come to me and say, hey, Ryan, I love your customer service. I love all the stuff you've done, but we found someone who's a quarter point lower. They can close in 15 days. They have a bunch of 5-star reviews for customer service. Like, no offense, but why would I use you if they can do all the things that you do and they're cheaper? I could never answer that question before, and it killed me because I couldn't show them any additional long-term value. So when I started to, when I solved for that and I started to do that, I said, look, everyone should do this. Every client and every homeowner in the country or prospective homeowner in the country should have access to this. That's when I said, all right, let's make it a real thing, and let's find the other people out there who believe what I believed, right? Danny was one of the first people that had a heart for this, that said, this is exactly what the mortgage industry needs to be. So now we need you all to help us change the industry. We can't do it alone, right? There's 250 some odd people, engaged in Art of Homeownership today across the country. If that number quadruples to 1,000, everyone on here will be more successful, because more people will know, okay, this is what we should expect, right? And then in your marketplace, you will be the one they expect it from. But we need everybody to really dive in there. So Danny, what would you add on any of those 3 points?
Yeah, well, I really just want to kind of crystal ball a little bit here and really net out why I believe that this call today is extremely important to everybody that's listening and anybody that watches the recording after. And the reason is, this sounds very, this is all massively important. And many of you who are on this call have heard a lot of this in the past. But it will be even more important as we head into this future market and the headwinds that Ryan was referencing at the opening of the call. And I heard a speaker a few months ago talk about This person is a ultra marathon runner. They run 100-mile races, and they said that they really have to live in a headspace, a mental headspace that really looks at two extremes. So one extreme is they mentally run the entire race in their mind ahead of time. So they actually think about, okay, my muscles are going to be literally on fire by mile 50. And by mile 70, my toenails are going to fall off and be floating around in my shoe. And they think through all that, and it's completely overwhelming. But then when they actually get into the race, they think in just the next mile, because one of the things that they said was nobody can run a 100-mile race, but you can run a 1-mile race 100 times in a row. And the reason I bring that up as it relates to this is, for everyone that's on this call and is committed to become a member of this community, you're going to face headwinds just like everyone else, and you're going to be human, right? And it's going to feel terrible at times when, you know, your company is, you know, because margins are shrinking, they're cutting off staff and it's harder to get deals through. And, you know, there's companies out there that are losing $86 million a quarter, and they're able to just cut and slash pricing in a way that's completely irrational. And being able to articulate something real in the face of all of that fantasy is extremely, extremely valuable. So what this should mean for you is not just changing the industry, that's the result. But what it should mean for you immediately is that when everyone else is running away from the fire, you're running into it, right? Or when everybody's running away from the storm, you're running into the storm. And one of the things about running into a storm is if the storm's moving towards you and you run towards it, you get out the other side faster, right? And when you are in that blue ocean, when everybody else has run away from the problem and you ran towards it with strategies that actually work, with tactics that people need, you should end up wealthier personally, you know, not just benefiting the industry, with a bigger team, a better business than you would have had if you didn't adopt these mindsets that we're talking about today.
Yeah, I love that. And team, there's some, you know, I'm gonna kind of go through the list of problems that we have in this industry. Let me pull this up here. So feel free to write these down. You know, we'll have the team send the recording out afterwards as well if you want the recording. But, you know, there's 4 key problems that real estate professionals have. There's 2 problems that I can think of that current homeowners have, or I'm sorry, prospective homeowners have, and there's 3 problems that current homeowners have. So the first problem in the industry right now is that real estate professionals cannot on their own convince buyers it's a good time to buy a home, right? It's a real challenge that people have. And most mortgage professionals are not built or trained on how to do that. They're only trained on how to do loans for people who already want to buy a home, right? So we can solve that problem. You can go in the Art of Homeownership e-learning platform right now. You can look at the consultation that we have. You can look at the bulletproof buyer presentation that we gave a while back, and we can solve that problem. We can show people and educate them that now is the phenomenal time to buy a home, and the longer they wait, the more challenging it gets. We can solve that problem for our real estate professionals.
Ryan, are you meaning to share these bullet points as a slide?
I don't. I'm
okay,
not.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure you weren't intending to share. All good.
The next problem is real estate agents can't get buyers' offers accepted, right? They're on average about 10 offers on every home. There is I'll talk about this in a little bit here on one of my next bullet points, but we have the ability to solve for that. Again, bulletproof buyer presentation. It's in the e-learning platform. You know, we can help someone look like cash. We can help someone get their offer accepted, and we can elevate what it means to be someone of value in their home search and the acquisition of that property. Next is real estate agents. Says there's no inventory, right? They can't get the listings. If any of you watched the video I put out, I think it was yesterday, in Orange County, there's 1,500 homes for sale. There's 3.2 million people. Right? In Fresno, there's 900 homes for sale, 990,000 people. In what was it, King County, Washington, there's 1,100 homes for sale, 2.2 million people. And in Dallas County, there's 2,000 homes for sale, and there's 2.6 million people. That's just we have a stalled real estate market, right? And every year, more and more first-time home buyers and move-up buyers are hitting that wall. So we're Art of Homeownership is co-hosting an event coming up on January 18th at 2 p.m. You guys all should have gotten an invitation to it. It's going to be how you can partner, or how real estate agents and lenders can partner together to solve the real estate inventory crisis. Highly recommend coming to that because as an Art of Homeownership partner, you have all the tools to be able to solve this inventory crisis. And we hear people say this a lot. Almost everyone in life gets paid to solve problems. So you want problems. Without problems, then everybody's just the same. And then the last real estate agent problem is that almost all real estate agents are the same, right? There's no differentiating value proposition. And that's not to say that mortgage is any different. Almost every mortgage lender is exactly the same, right? But we've solved that problem here with the Art of Homeownership. So the 4 biggest problems that face realtors: can't convince buyers to buy homes, can't get offers accepted, can't find inventory or create listings, and then have a struggling value proposition to differentiate themselves. You have every tool in your bag of tricks to be able to go solve those problems. Danny, would you add anything from a real estate perspective there?
No, the only thing I would say is that there's really, outside of the micro impact that we can all make as a community, going out to our individual partners, there is no macro solution to the inventory crisis coming. The builders are not building more. The people who are trapped in their homes, and I say this, kind of in a hyperbolic terminology, people that have 2.5% interest rates, right, on loans that are 25 to 50% smaller than the one they would need to buy their move up home. It is economically untenable for them to move into a larger place, which means that unit of housing doesn't get freed up for that next move up buyer. So that stalled, the macro picture is not helping the inventory issue at all. So the impact we can make in our micro markets using the strategies on the e-learning platform and that we've talked about here at Art of Homeownership in the past they're like a superpower, because there's no other help coming.
Yeah. I mean, this problem isn't going to solve itself, right? And people that are just like, oh, I hear this all the time. Man, I really hope this inventory opens up. What? Like, that's your business strategy? You just hope? Like, let's see how well that works out for you. Let's just actually dive in and solve it. Like, we have the micro solution. So a couple things: prospective homeowner problems, very similar to the realtor problem, is that most prospective homeowners, people that are renting now, they don't actually think that they can or should buy a home. So those people aren't even engaging at all. They're completely passive. They're just relegated to the fact that they're going to keep renting. And I think I've seen this post 800 times in the last couple of days. Rents up 17.2, 18%. At some point, they're going to get forced out of their own community. Like, these people who don't believe they can buy a home, well, what they don't realize is soon they don't realize this, but they won't even be able to afford the home that they're in, the home that they're renting, right? Which then forces them into other markets. They may have to leave or drive or commute farther to get to their job. Their kids may be impacted from their schools or the communities they're raised in or the neighborhoods. So this is not just a buying a home problem. This is a fundamental way of life problem. But we can solve that solution for prospective homeowners. We just need to let them know that they can and should reach out to us as Art of Homeownership professionals to get that information. Ask almost any person what do lenders do and what do realtors do? And they will say, well, they give home loans to people who are buying homes, and then they sell people homes who want to buy or sell homes. The operative word is want and need. No one believes that they should call a mortgage lender or a real estate professional to learn, to get educated, to get information, to help them figure out if buying home makes sense. They just believe we're salespeople. So when I say we need more Art of Homeownership professionals to tell people and to wave the flag as to what we do, like, it'll help all of us. What do you got there, Danny? I saw you come up.
Yeah. So team, engage in these conversations with anybody that you know. And I'm really surprised every time I start the conversation about real estate with somebody. In fact, I had the conversation just last week with a really good friend of mine who lives in Oahu. We were visiting them as a family, and the husband of my friend said, we don't want to get into just a house, like a starter house. We don't want to get into something that we don't really love, and but the house we really want is unaffordable, so we're just going to do nothing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that these highly educated people are having the same conversations that everyone else is having. So I had to explain to them the idea that the house they want is a fast moving train, and right now they're standing on the platform watching it race away, and they could get on a slightly slower moving train than the one they want, but at least be keeping pace a little bit with it in order to kind of be in the market or having chips in the game, and how much of a differentiator that is for them when they ultimately do have that opportunity to buy that future home. Because imagine the person who was in that mindset, and there's thousands, millions of these people that were in that mindset in 2012, 13, 15, 17, 19, who did not buy, whose homes would be worth 100 or 200% more than they bought them for, so that they then could leverage that into that home that they really, could see themselves falling in love with. So have these conversations. People need to know they don't have the context and information that we have, and it's a gift that you can give to them.
Danny, as you were saying that, I'm writing down right now, I'm going to buy a train set. And I think the analogy is the best analogy when it comes to housing. If you can just get people to visualize it, right? Like the train or the house they want is the car on the train that's, right next to where the conductor is. It's the farthest one up there, right? But you've seen these trains, they go on for miles, right? It's crazy how long these things are. If they just get on one of those maybe towards the end, well, then they can walk up the train over time, right? Because they're moving at the same speed. But if they don't, that train's gone, right? And then they don't get on it at all. So I think that analogy is going to be helpful. So if any of you see me do a video post with a train set, Danny help with that. All right. So next prospective homeowner problem is, again, they can't get their offer accepted. We have that solution. It's the Bulletproof Buyer. If you haven't watched that, please go into the e-learning platform and dive into that. Now, there's 3 homeowner problems. One is most homeowners have no idea what to do with their current home equity. They don't even know what it is, right? They guess, because there's different websites that have different amounts of the values of their home. They haven't looked at their mortgage statement sometimes, so they don't really know how much they owe in their mortgage. So they just have this ambiguous number that they kind of have in their head of essentially what their home equity is. And almost every time, if you ask any homeowner, that number is the biggest asset that they have. It's bigger than their checking and savings account. It's bigger than any money they have in the stock market. It's bigger than their retirement account, likely. But it's the one thing that they don't pay attention to, and they don't know how to utilize it, right? They don't know how to leverage it. They don't know how to, to improve upon it. They don't know if it makes sense or not. They just buy a home, live in it, and pay for it. But if they knew that there was Art of Homeownership professionals out there that would do an equity analysis consultation for them, right? They would look at this and say, hey, I'm going to look at your life holistically, right? From a financial perspective. And then I'm going to look and see how your home equity and how your current home plays into that. And then I'm just going to give you advice. I'm going to tell you what you can potentially do with that to create a better, more sustainable or more successful financial outcome for you, the generation above you, generation below you. I guarantee, ask 1,000 people if that's what mortgage companies do, and they will say, no, not a chance. But that's what we have. That's a problem we have the opportunity to solve, and we should be really excited to go solve it. We just need everybody out there telling the consumer this exists, this can happen. This is not a sales pitch. We're not selling you a mortgage. We're just helping you analyze the largest asset you have. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the, again, it's really comes down to education. and the commitment to just having these conversations with people and not making the assumption that they already know. Because for us, it's like we're swimming in this information constantly, and it feels very natural, but it's not natural for others to have it. So it's and there's so many things that people can be doing with their home equity that could create enormous freedom for them. Even just as simple as paying off, high interest credit card debt with a home equity line of credit that they, get from a local bank. I mean, maybe the people on this call wouldn't be able to directly benefit from that, but if you're solving people's problems, the reciprocity of that, I promise you will come back to you.
Yeah. So team, the last two problems that I believe, let me pull this back up here, that I believe that homeowners have. One is that they want to move up, or they want to move down or out of the area, but they think they need to sell their home first, and they don't want to do that. This is another train video I'm going to do, right? They're on this fast moving train. They're keeping up, right? But they want to start walking up the train, but the only way for them to get to the next car is they have to get off first. And then they have to try and get back on, right? Because they have to sell their home, which means they're off the train. They're in the no man's land. And then they have to try and jump back on that train, and it's moving faster than they can keep up with it. So we need to be able to help them get from one car to the next, or one home to the next, without having to sell their home first. And we have the ability to do that. And we have the ability to help them, get the most money possible from the home that they're leaving by renovating it prior to doing that through our relationship with our trade up company. So that is a massive problem. And that's going to be a big part of the event that we do on the 18th. You guys should be taking this to all of your agents so they can get out and let people know. Because again, there's people that are just sitting in their homes thinking, well, I don't want to sell first, and my offer contingent is not going to get accepted. So I'm just going to sit and do nothing because I don't know what the alternative is, right? We have the ammunition to go out and tell them that we can change that. And then the last homeowner problem is that most of the time they have no real plan for their real estate goals for the future. They just buy a home, live in it, and pay for it. And the two reasons why people will typically either buy or sell a home is either emotional or strategic, right? So emotionally, they fall in love with the home and then they just go buy it because, they felt like they needed to, or it's going to make them have a better life, whatever the case may be. But it definitely wasn't a financial decision. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a strategy. Or it's strategic in that, or more tactical. Maybe they got relocated in their job. They got laid off. They are having a baby and they need a bigger home. They're getting married and they believe it's kind of the logical next societal step. But those aren't plans, right? So that's not a part of a larger kind of strategy to become a more successful homeowner in every aspect of real estate or finance. And because they don't have that plan, they don't know that they should have that plan because nobody's told them, right? So we can solve that problem of complacency and, people just not realizing that they should have a plan to buy investment properties for retirement. They should have a plan to move up and create their departing residence as investment property. They should have a plan for their parents. They should have a plan for their children. And it all stems around real estate because one of our team members, one of our Art of Homeownership partners, Darren, said it well a while ago, like we're moving towards a substantial haves and have-nots world. And real estate is the number one thing that is the have and the have-not because it's finite, right? There's a very, certain amount of that. And when you look at where that real estate is headed, 1 out of every 6 homes is being bought by an institutional investor. There's these companies building massive, amounts of homes that they're planning on renting, not selling, right? Because they can see the demographics, like they can see what the average person can't. Right? We need to help people understand they need to have plans to be a part of that conversation, as opposed to being a byproduct of what happens if they don't. Anything you want to add there, Danny?
No, the thing that comes up for me pretty much every time we have these conversations, Ryan, is, how powerful the confidence that this knowledge should have for everybody that's on this call, right? Just being able to make that simple statement with with confidence, I'm changing the mortgage or I'm changing the real estate industry, or just knowing with confidence that if you're bringing this kind of information and value to people, it's going to impact their lives, and therefore it should have an impact on your life. All of you who are on this call should see the benefits of the transference of this value to others. And this is going to sound crazy and kind of funny, but every time I'm on calls like this, I think to myself, man, I wonder what it would be like if I just got back after it and started doing loans again. But obviously that's probably not a good idea right now. But I get really excited about getting out and sharing this information with families. And I would like to invite everybody who's listening right now to get excited in the same way, because the impact you can make is huge. And that impact will translate back to your business, because it's so simple to just be able to say, oh, I have something for you that is immensely valuable. Can I get 2 minutes of your time to talk about it?
Yeah, I think this may be a good pivot point. I'm going to ask you a kind of a question, Danny, fundamentally on why this is important to you here. But yeah, Val says Ryan's getting a train set and Danny's getting back into loan or slinging loans again. Team, does anyone have any questions or comments on the problem? Any of those, was that 9 problems we just put out into the world here, like the 4 realtor problems, the 2 prospective homeowner problems, or the 3 current homeowner problems? Anyone have any comments or anything? Sean's saying, can you and someone at AOH send out your bullet points you're reading from? I have a lot of realtor meetings this month and would love to burn those problems into my brain for the convos. Yeah, I will make sure that I send them out to the AOH team. I'll just reply to this, and Val and team, you guys can send them out to everybody from all the bullet points. I think that's a great thing to take to your real estate agent meetings, take to your financial planners, take to your CPA meetings, just get in front of people. And if you're going to do any sort of content online, that's 9 different videos you could do, right? 9 different engagement points. 9 different webinars you could host or talk about, and bring your real estate agents on and talk about how you're going to solve those things. So, our goal is just to, continue to give you things and kind of tools and talking points to be able to go let people in your market know that you exist and that you're a much higher caliber mortgage and real estate professional than the average, because that's what our communities need. All right. If you do have questions, please type it in the Q&A, type it in the chat, raise your hand, and we'll unmute you and we can kind of talk through it. For those of you who don't know Danny, I know he's been on a lot of these things throughout the year here, but Danny ran one of the top 4 mortgage teams in the country. He was doing 400 million back when that was a really, really, really impressive thing to do. And I'd always admired Danny kind of from afar, and then I just didn't know him. Danny, what was it, you got out of production and more into kind of executive roles, and you had a passion to change the mortgage industry in your own way. What was it that called you to Art of Homeownership, and what was the challenge you found in why it wasn't happening in the mortgage industry at a larger scale?
So there's a couple of answers to that, but I'll share the one that is really kind of the most personal and emotional to me. So, and some of you have heard me share this story before, so I'll give you the very brief version of it, is that my family was significantly impacted by bad mortgage advice. And there was some good mortgage advice, and that got us to that place. And I'm going to skip over that part of the story, but I'll share that my family, the first time there was any meaningful wealth was when my parents bought their first home, and it accumulated equity passively. And that was essentially all the wealth they had in the world. And in 2005, they got a mailer, and they called up the loan officer. At the time, I was just 2 years in the mortgage industry, maybe 2.5 years in the mortgage industry. I was a loan processor. I didn't know really anything yet about the information that we were all talking about today. So they didn't call me. They ended up getting a loan from this mortgage broker, and then they call me a few months later, and they said, my mom calls me and says, Danny, I think I screwed up. And it turns out that they took 100 grand out of the house, and it was gone. They'd spent it all because they didn't have great financial habits. I looked over the paperwork, and they had a 228, so a 2-year fixed and a 28 adjustable with a 3-year prepay, a loan that's currently illegal. And the broker had made $50,000. So they actually had taken $150,000 of money out of the home. So that's really where my fire started building around this idea that advice matters, right? The impact that we can make on people's lives is real, because I saw it happen. I saw the stress that this event created in my own family, the personal stress between my parents, the stress, around my siblings, and it's real. Right. And the inverse is also true, though. We as mortgage professionals can give good advice. We can guide people towards a place of true financial freedom, or at least stability, in a way that relieves stress. And when I was working on the team of awesome mortgage professionals that was doing that volume, what was driving me farther and farther towards doing more and more units, more and more volume, was really this idea of scaling this impact and scaling the advice that we can do. And my move into, those executive roles was really this idea of, okay, well, I need to go bigger, because I'm not having a big enough impact going, one-to-one with my referral partners and clients. And just kind of tie this off, Ryan, when I met you and learned about Art of Homeownership, I realized this is exactly what we need to get out to the masses, right? At the time I was working at Caliber as an executive, thinking, okay, I'm going to make these changes from the inside and spread, this message of advice and guidance and true creation of value. But here at Art of Homeownership, we can go, agnostic the platform across all mortgage and real estate industry, platforms and companies, and share that same message of value, because it absolutely matters. The other tactical side of it, right? That's the emotional side. The tactical side of it is that I truly believe that the market will not tolerate anything less than what an Art of Ownership partner is. And I want to really emphasize that. Those of you that are on this call, you have a seat on the ark, right? It will start raining and flooding, and thousands, tens of thousands of mortgage professionals will wash out of the industry because they don't know what to do. They will be lost in a market that does not tolerate their inability to create value. And we created this. We as an industry, we created space for the click button get mortgages. We didn't create a differentiated value proposition fast enough so that people like click button get mortgage and $86 million loss a quarter, that we made space for them. And now they've taken up a lot of space, and they're gobbling up market share in a way that right now they're here to stay. We're not going to be able to, kind of fight back that flood. But what we can do is create a community, a promise, and a commitment of quality and service that people ask for and demand, and have this pocket that's protected, right? This walled, moated city of value that's protected from this devalued, stay ignorant message that's taken root inside of the mortgage market. And the Art of Homeownership community is really, I think, that kind of light that kind of sets the stage. Hopefully, and this is my strong hope, is that people around the country will copy this. They'll try to do it, and they'll get 50% to the mark. And even that is better than where we're at today. But without these strategies, without this commitment and a focus on adding value, the people that are outside of this call or outside of this community, or at least don't have the heart to be part of this community, they will be out of the business in 3 or 4 years. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, that's not only something I believe, it's something I hope, right? Like, we need to create a clear 2-path solution in the mortgage industry, one of incredible value and guidance and long-term growth, and the other is cheap. But anything in between should not be here, right? The consumer should not pay $1 more for a mortgage from a mortgage company that's not ultimately going to offer anything other than customer service and speed and, closing on time, which is what the cheap companies are also doing as well. So thank you for sharing that, Danny. Team, let's talk a little bit about where Art of Homeownership and the mission and the cause is actually headed. One of the things that we're really excited about is the consumer app, right? The Art of Homeownership app that we are in the process of creating. Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, team, this, I hesitate a little bit telegraphing stuff that's not yet fully baked, but we're well in the process of developing a consumer-facing app that we believe is going to really improve the level of engagement, the frequency of engagement that we have with our members. Those clients that you serve, pre and post real estate transaction. So this will be a tool that will allow you to push notifications for their annual financial review, push notifications around their monthly wealth digest, so that you'll have another conduit that, and an anchor really is the way I picture this app, where you can truly say that you're in relationship with your clients, right? Amazon is in relationship with its clients because it knows when they buy toilet paper. We as real estate and mortgage professionals, when we engage with our clients every 2 to 7 years, that's not necessarily something I would define as a relationship. But if we can find a way to consistently add value and be in communication and connected to those clients, at least on a monthly basis, which is our goal for the app, that I believe would be that would qualify us as being in relationship. We also have a pretty cool feature that we're actively working on right now, which is what we're calling the financial health score, financial freedom score, that's going to allow an Art of Homeownership member to understand where they are at mathematically on that path to becoming a successful homeowner. And we're going to have a way for them to understand, ways in which, so for example, do you have life insurance? Yes or no? If you say yes, your financial health score is going to be higher than if you say no. And so we currently have this, as a manual process inside of the Art of Homeownership commitment, where you can go on to the financial freedom dashboard and, essentially update the financial health information of a member. But now the app will allow us to really take that to another level, and a level that a manual process I really don't think can make happen. Anything I missed there, Ryan, that you wanted me to emphasize?
No, I loved it. I'm going to share my screen real quick and kind of show you what Danny was talking about when it comes to the frequency of use, right? So, the concept is growing infrequent products, and we in the mortgage and real estate space, we are an infrequent product, meaning that we're not even used yearly, right? We're 2 to 7 years, and likely if rates go up, and with inventory challenges, we'll probably be more towards 5 to 10 years. So what we want to do is we want to increase frequency. We want to increase control over experience, increase engagement, and increase our distinctiveness. So what we're trying to do here is go from infrequent to frequent, having no control of the experience to very much control, very low engagement, which our clients have very low engagement with us in the mortgage and real estate industry typically. And when I say engagement is not marketing. Right. I was on a call earlier today, and someone was telling me how they do some of the things we do at Art of Homeownership because they send emails out. That's not engagement. That's just marketing. Engagement is actually communicating with the client, right? Like putting information out, having them engage with it, and creating dialogue. So creating a higher engagement, and then creating something that's not distinctive, which I hate to break it to y'all, but mortgage is not distinctive and real estate is not distinctive, right? I said it earlier. That's one of the biggest problems we all have, is that we're all the same, to very distinctive. So the application, and just so you guys kind of get an understanding of what that, like, people that use Slack and Instagram, Facebook, those types of things, very much daily, right? Zoom, Amazon, I'd put those in the weekly category. For me, it'd also be daily. SurveyMonkey, Birchbox, monthly, and you got started getting into like the forgettable zone, right? This is a habit. And the forgettable zone is Carvana. You buy a car every so many years, TurboTax, you may do this once a year. So they're not going to be in that part of your brain that triggers on a frequent basis, right? Airbnb, you do that from time to time. So we want to move from the forgettable zone, which is unfortunately where we are today, typically, into the habit zone. And we do that by creating the application where ideally they look at it on a daily or weekly basis because it has their banking information on it, right? It has it updated on their credit score. It gamifies their financial freedom. So they're constantly kind of playing a game. They can, stay constantly in a place where they can always be approved for a mortgage in a quick period of time. And we can push notification to them when there's changes in the market or guideline. So, for any of you who are kind of geeks about finance, maybe the way that I am, I'm looking at kind of the gamification of my finances almost on a daily basis. I follow the markets, look at investments, look at real estate, and I can do that all through a certain app, right? We just want to create it where it creates gamification. They can check their value of their home. They can do all the things that typically aren't going to happen in one of those applications. And for those of you who are not aware, Quicken bought Truebill, right? Truebill had 2.5 million millennials that were using this platform, kind of like a mint.com, because Quicken wants to try and do this as well. The only difference is it's not in Quicken's DNA, right? They're not actually doing it to improve the life of the consumer. They're doing it to stay, more top of mind. It's just like buying a Super Bowl commercial for them. So that's the really cool part about the Art of Homeownership app that's coming out. We want to get that into the hands of your consumer, and we want you guys to be able to show your differentiation and engage at a higher level.
So Ryan, you kind of glossed over something that I forgot to mention when I shared about the app, which is that the app definitely has a real estate and mortgage focus associated with it. And there is an opportunity to kind of connect up the data in the app to LOS and POS systems to actually push the financial data. So for example, checking savings accounts, verifications of employment, verifications of income, that actually can be managed through the app and then pushed in to a mortgage or real estate platform. So there's definitely some tactical functionality to it that should actually make your job easier as well.
Yeah, yeah, I did gloss over that. It definitely will make the experience for the consumer easier, and it will make your experience in terms of the technological aspect of your loan process easier also. A couple other things from a mission perspective, I think that ultimately we have a goal where we want to get the Art of Homeownership as a kind of an online course and in our schooling system, in our universities and our high schools, where at an early age, kind of the younger generation can learn more about what it means to holistically be able to grow your wealth in and through real estate. Ultimately, having a book that we put out on everything real estate and mortgage related around like being a successful homeowner, where we can, ideally people will be reading that book and understanding, okay, this is because right now it just doesn't exist. You can't go anywhere online. I've looked in every nook and cranny of the internet to try and find something that states that someone interested in buying a home or refinancing a home or selling a home can get information and education from a professional, not an article. And it doesn't exist, right? So if we can create concepts that people learn early in school, and we can create a book around it that homeowners and prospective homeowners will believe is kind of the book that they should buy, then it will get them to understand, okay, this is really the way we should do it, right? We should plan well in advance of buying a home. And there's a group of people out there and a community of professionals that will help us do that. It's not solely up to us to accomplish it. What are your thoughts on that, Danny?
Yeah, I really, again, when I think about the full spectrum of impact that we can have, team, it just gets me super excited. And the idea of getting into schools and spreading this knowledge so that we can really, again, that's a long play, right? We're planting seeds that are going to grow over a long period of time, but it's the right thing to do. And it again will add a tremendous amount of value. And in my experience, there's no time where that level of value has been created where it didn't kind of come back in a and oftentimes I'll multiply it away back to me.
Yeah. And then ultimately, one of our goals, team, and I don't know if it's going to happen in 2022, it kind of depends upon how many, professionals we can get into our organization. I believe we'll get way more in 2022 than we did in years past, just because people are going to start to realize how necessary it is to differentiate themselves and have a value proposition, and how impactful it can be to the clients they're serving. But we want to be able to have a direct to consumer channel where, the goal, in this year and the years to come, is that people start to expect what they get from Art of Homeownership professionals. And, every time you do a post-closing call, it should go so well where that person has social currency. The client you just served has enough social currency where they want to go share it with other people. And those other people start to seek it out. So they're going to go to the Art of Homeownership direct to consumer page and search for the Art of Homeownership professional in their area. And when they find the Art of Homeownership professional in their area, the goal is that we're able to then, generate that business for you as the partner who's kind of taken owner. Because again, it's a limited platform, right? There's 2 people for every 100,000 people in a market. So if there's a million people in a market, we're not going to have any more than 20 mortgage professionals in that market. And then, as much as maybe 200 real estate professionals. So the goal would be, and MSAs are massive, right? And so the goal would be they can put in their address and they can see kind of the nearest few Art of Homeownership professionals around them, and they get to choose who to connect with. So the only way that we get there is by increasing the community, right? Is by growing the number of partners we have. Because right now, if we have Art of Homeownership, people searching for AOH partners, and we don't have them in their area, we got to go to different states, it becomes challenging. So when I say that our community growing is good for all of us, I couldn't tell you, that's nothing could be further from the truth. Danny, you want to add anything to that?
No, nothing to add to that. I really do believe that the bigger the community is, the bigger the microphone we all have to kind of spread that message and create the awareness. But I'd love to, I think there were some questions, or maybe it was just some comments. Sorry, I saw a note in the Q&A. Any other thoughts or questions from the group? I'd love to make sure that we're hitting the mark and, really helping and adding as much value to all of you as we can.
Yeah, a couple of things in the chat were from Matt, just saying, Matt, first of all, thank you for your kind words, and glad you're getting a lot out of this. And as I kind of said to you, most people don't see these problems, right? Or they do see them, they just don't know how to solve them. So, you get to be the leader in your community, right? You get to be the person who has the solutions, and you get to be the example of what a real estate or mortgage professional should be. And that should give you guys so much energy and excitement to go, tackle a market where people see the obstacles, they just don't see them as opportunities. But what other questions do you guys have, or comments, or is there anything we can help you with in our last couple of minutes here to help you have the best 2021 or 2022 of your career and to really make an impact? David saying, I'm new to Art of Homeownership. Are there any specific slides, PowerPoints, videos, etc., that we should have in our hands as soon as possible? If we don't already, for our realtor presentations? Yes. You should have the Bulletproof Buyer presentation, David. That's in the e-learning platform. You should have the basically like the presentation of Art of Homeownership to be able to talk to the realtor partners in your market. You should have the client experience presentation. All of these presentations are in the e-learning platform. So you should just go in there and see everything that we have, and then just kind of pick and choose what makes most sense to you. And David, you can always reach out to the support team or reach out to me, and I'll help you with that as well. Let's see.
So
go ahead, Danny. I'll read this one.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. So I just, in the last few minutes here, I just wanted to restate something that we opened this call with. Again, that crystal ball, if we look into it, there's going to be a moment of massive frustration this year. where you look at your business, you look at your interest rates, you look at your team, you look at your lead pipeline, and there's just going to be something that is an emotional blow, right? That's going to knock you down. And I know it's going to happen to me as well. I think everybody in the mortgage industry is going to face that moment. And I think today is about recognizing that will happen, but also recognizing that it's going to happen to everybody. And your competitor, down the street, they're going to be on their knees too. And the question that's going to define your success and your market share gains is how fast you get back up on your feet and how fast you continue moving forward and getting through the storm while everybody else is sitting inside of it. So make a plan for that day that you're going to be, taken to your knees. Make a plan of how you're going to get up and what you're going to do about it, and how you're going to use that energy and invigoration, knowing that your competition is still on the ground, right? And having that confidence that should come from that knowledge to go out and just gobble up their market share.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much more I could say about that. This is going to be the best year that you could possibly have as a real estate or mortgage professional if you use the tools that we have at Art of Homeownership, if you believe that they're not problems, they're opportunities. You're bringing a bazooka to a knife fight here, right? And most people aren't going to even want to fight. They've had 3 years where they've been, lying on a bed of feathers, eating grapes. I don't want to get out of bed and do anything. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this was motivational. Hopefully it gives you all the drive to know that the opportunity is endless. And please continue to give us feedback on how we can improve the platform, and how we can strengthen the community, because as this community grows, that is our pushback against the click buttons, get mortgage of the world, the stay ignorance, and these mortgage companies that have no other cause, or these real estate companies that have no other cause except to make money off of the people that they're supposed to serve. So get out, and as Sean Antonio said, attack mode. Let's go.
Yeah, awesome. Default aggressive.
There you go. Danny.
Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, happy to do it.
All right,
Talk to y'all later.
Happy New Year. Talk soon.